Welcome to this webinar on the project Improving Women's Access to Business Financing. First of all, I would like to take Status of Women Canada for funding this project and for funding any other projects that promotes the advancement of women's economic security or prosperity. The goal of this webinar is to present new tools to business loan agents that were developed for improving women's access to business financing. We invited women entrepreneurs also so they can be aware of the tools that's been developed and why we did those tools, and also there's probably some information that might be important or interesting to them today. So welcome to everybody. During this webinar, we will have a quick presentation from Line Doiron, Director of Business, Women in Business New Brunswick and the New Brunswick CBDC Association. I will also make a quick presentation of the tools that were developed for business loan agents. And then we will have a presentation from Cheryl Dawson, Regional Vice President from BMO, Bank of Montreal. And she will talk to you about women's access to business financing and what you do at BMO. So the first thing that I will do is share the presentation from Madame Line Doiron.
Hello and welcome to this webinar. My name is Line Doiron and I'm the Executive Director for the New Brunswick Association of Community Business Development Corporation, and we primarily use the acronym CBDCs. I'm participating at this webinar for several reasons. First and foremost, our association is responsible for the management and the delivery of the Women in Business New Brunswick project. Women in Business New Brunswick is the expert resource of choice for the advancement of women entrepreneurs. Women are the new face of entrepreneurship and a thriving force in New Brunswick economy. We have 4 development officers who provide business advice and who can refer women entrepreneurs to the proper resource whenever necessary. Also, we offer training and professional counseling services. We support networking activities and as well as the promotion of recognition of local women entrepreneur of success stories. Above all, in addition to supporting business startups, we focus on the growth of women-owned business. In this respect, for exportation and innovation are key elements for the prosperity of these women entrepreneurs. Furthermore, I'm taking part in this webinar to tell you that the contribution of women entrepreneurs to New Brunswick prosperity is significant, and that the challenges that these women must face to succeed in business must be taken seriously. In 2016, the Government of Canada, through the Office of the Chief Economist, published a report on international trade. It's clearly suggested that if women entrepreneurs experience real or perceived sexism that prevents them to expand their networks, this could very well lead them to export less frequently than their male counterparts. And when it comes to business networks, it understood that financial institutions are strongly associated with them. Access to capital is often the base for a business venture, and businesses run by women must be safe from any misconduct against them. As a director of Women in Business New Brunswick, CBDC Restigouche had approached me to sit on their advisory committee for this project. Demystifying themes such as sexism or discrimination and other subjects in order to help with access to capital for women is an example of themes that we have worked on, and is no mean that it wasn't an easy task to do so. At the very last, we plan to make a breakthrough in that respect, and it seems clear to me that we all have to play a little role to go and improve our professional relationship on these issues. But I don't want to sound like I'm doing a lecture today. So through the exercise of this webinar, you'll see many examples that might be a little spark of new ideas or different ways to do things within your office or your workplace. And always keep in mind, and I emphasize on this point, women entrepreneurs are called upon to play an even greater role in the business community. This is a common trend anywhere, and the development of rural communities as well as urban centers, especially in the case of New Brunswick, relies heavily on women entrepreneurs to develop our industries, create wealth locally, and move our province in the growth. On that note, enjoy this webinar, and I'm counting on you to promote women entrepreneurial potential in New Brunswick. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Now I will start with my presentation. Why did we do this project? So we did some research, and we found that female entrepreneurs face more barriers to access financing compared to their male counterparts. And as mentioned by Ms. Dawson in her message, women are more and more present in the entrepreneurial sector. And we thought it was important to create those tools in order to raise awareness for those who work with women entrepreneurs about the barriers that women face when trying to access business financing. The goal of this project is to increase the economic prosperity of women entrepreneurs in New Brunswick by promoting the fairness in funding opportunities for new business or expansion projects. It's also to increase knowledge and understanding, so increase awareness, raise awareness, I should say, with business loan service providers or anyone working with women entrepreneurs. To show what women entrepreneurs face in accessing business financing, to identify gaps, strategies, and solutions that could specifically overcome these obstacles. How are we going to do this? Well, in the past 3 years, we worked on developing tools. So tools and resources that will help reduce the identified barriers that will lead to improved equity in accessing business financing. Excuse me. In the past 3 years, we had key activities. So the first things that we did were research. We did consultations with women entrepreneurs. We went through banks and did interviews with loan agents across the province. We then, with those results, we developed tools and resources. And after being developed, those tools and resources were piloted by a couple of people that work in the sector. Now we're in the phase of distribution of the tools and resources in New Brunswick's financial institutions. We won't be distributing them in paper format. We will also only be sending emails or electronic copies of the tools. We're hoping that the tools in this package can increase success rates for women entrepreneurs, increase numbers of women in business, create more job opportunities, and increase your overall volume of business clients. Sometimes we see change as being something big, but it doesn't always have to be. Change can be started by altering small aspects or how we deliver loan services. We can analyze our own assumptions, our expectations of what our female clients are looking for. It's possible to better understand their needs by doing that and to better accommodate a wide range of our customers in general. So in this part here, I would like to show you the website that we created. So this is the website, Tools and Resources for Lending Agencies. So if you click on here on Tools and Resources, you will have a page with all of those documents available to download. I don't know why the internet is really slow right now. Okay, so we have a little description of the tools here, and when you go down, you have all the tools enumerated. So we have 1, 2, 8 tools. So when you click on download, it will bring you to, there you go. So just to give you a little idea. At the end of the page, you will see there's a survey that you can answer. It will, after you read the tools, you can answer that little survey that will help us identify what the needs are really and how you like the tools. It will give us a little feedback. So I'll go back to the presentation now. If you want to take note of the website's address, it's www.womenandbusinessfinancing.ca. For your information, we had some comments yesterday in the French webinar that people that have firewalls on their computers might not be able to access the website. So we're working on that to see if there's another alternative that we can do, which we would probably do put the tools and resources directly on our CBDC website, which is probably more accessible to most of you. Okay, so I will do a quick overview of the tools and resources. First of all, note that the tools were developed in order to raise awareness with business loan agents. We were asked if the tools were going to be presented as training sessions. At this time, no, but the tools were developed as a self-training tool. So for everyone, anyone can read it and auto-evaluate themselves, reflect on the situations that might have happened in the past or could possibly happen, and that's how the tools work. So for now, there's no training sessions. The tools can be used individually or with a group of coworkers to stimulate discussion. It could also be used as an orientation tool for new employees that starts in your financial institution. Each document is about 15 to 22 pages, and I'll show you, this is a copy of the tools, and it's written in bigger fonts. So if you can see, it's not very hard to read. We made it really easy to read. So, and if you take each tool one at a time, it's not very long to read. This is one tool. So it's something that we wanted people to not feel like it was a big thing to read. Note also that the tools are not necessarily all linked to your services, but it can help you offer value-added services. So it's always a plus. So the first tool that we developed is the introduction. This document includes information such as why these tools were created, how they can be used, the details about the barriers that women face, and that are addressed in the other tools. The second tool is understanding stereotypes. So the intent is to provide an opportunity to help increase understanding, including how to become aware of one's own attitude and biases. In this tool, we give definitions and examples of stereotypes, biases, critical thinking, etc. We also give suggestions according to the different scenarios, and at the end of this tool, we have a little exercise to encourage reflection. The third tool is tool number 3, self-evaluation. This tool can be used independently or can be used in a group of coworkers to stimulate discussion and to further increase understanding about lending practices in your workplace. In this document, we ask questions that can help you auto-evaluate your own practices or those of your institution. And in every project that we do, we always do a need assessment. So it's the same thing with this. When we want to evaluate our practices and services, we can do a gender-based analysis to help us better understand the difference between both genders. In this case, you can start by doing a small evaluation of yourself or your institution with tool number 3. Then you can go on the Status of Women Canada website, and you can do a more in-depth analysis. And if you want even more details in your need assessment or in your gender-based analysis, you can decide to hire a consultant expert in gender-based analysis. That will help you understand what barriers are maybe in your institution or what barriers your clients face, etc. So tool number 4 is rethinking communication. In this document, you will find information, scenarios, thought-provoking questions regarding communications, whether it's written, verbal, nonverbal, or visual. Here are some examples maybe that you can find in this tool. For example, if you have a brochure that has complicated information or the information is not clear, for some people they might feel discouraged and just walk away and not ask more questions. Or another example could be that if you only use pictures of men in your publicity or have only men in your promotional kiosk, for example, it gives a false impression that women are not welcome. So it's all things that makes you think, and we're not saying that that's what you're doing, but it's just to make you think of those situations if they do happen around you or not. Another example would be if a woman arrives at her appointment with her kids, what would be your reaction, verbally or non-verbally? Because even the non-verbal can talk, can give some perspective. In this tool, we give suggestions for every scenario that we describe, and at the end there is still there is another quick exercise at the end. Tool number 5, there's 2 sections to tool number 5. So there's 5A about maternity. It doesn't mean that every women entrepreneurs have children, or it doesn't mean that those who have children or are having children will have challenges related to their business. But when a women entrepreneur comes to you with questions concerning maternity, you will have the tools to answer them or to direct her in the right direction. In this tool, we present scenarios around maternity leave and programs available for her. For example, does a woman entrepreneur have access to maternity leave benefits, and what does she have to do to access it? We give links to different options and government sites, so you can better direct her in that situation. The second part is 5B. So this one is a document that you can share with women entrepreneurs who ask about maternity in general. The document includes tips and suggestions that we gathered during our research and in our consultations with women business owners. And these women shared with us suggestions they found helpful in running a business and having children at the same time. Tool number 6 are suggestions. So we have listed in this document a number of additional tips and strategies that you can, as a loan agent, that you could consider doing. For example, of the suggestions that we have in that document, we have creating an internal working group that focuses on women entrepreneurs, examine loan politics, offer small training to your staff on the subject, gather statistics, networking and mentorship, etc. We have about 14 suggestions like that in the documents. And then tool number 7, other resources. In this document, you'll find links to and brief descriptions of services available in New Brunswick for entrepreneurs. These links and descriptions can be useful when dealing with clients requesting services and information beyond the domain of your lending institution. So it was created mainly with loan agents in mind, but women can also download the document and use it as they want. Please note that the information in these documents are very hard to keep up to date, so it's possible that in a couple of months some of the information might have already be changed or things like that. So keep in mind that it's important to keep referring to the websites of the organization or business that you're looking at, and or to contact them directly to make sure that you have the right information that you can give to your client. Those documents are only guides, and all scenarios are probably don't apply to every one of your clients. So it's important to sit down with your client, identify their needs, and in order to better to offer a better service. So right now I have a little video. We met with 3 partners who piloted the tools, and they agreed to give us their comments on the tools. So here's a little video explaining their thoughts.
There is a lot out there aimed at helping the entrepreneurs themselves know how to deal with the banks or what to provide or how to business plan. Those tools already exist, but there wasn't as much aimed at the lenders themselves in terms of raising our education and awareness level so that we can provide better access to the women.
Up to now, we've always evaluated with concrete evidence. And often that concrete evidence is based in the past, credit score, credit review, past employment, but we were never geared a lot on the future except for financial projections.
sometimes we just need to make sure that we understand those differences between women and how a woman entrepreneur would like to get particular attention on their requests of financing.
Because if you're not able to relate to the client, not able to understand what the client has went through, it's hard to develop a trust relationship with those clients. If we do not get that client relationship, get those questions out there and get the answers from the client, as loans officers, we are not able to help the client to the full potential.
The tools represent a really excellent education opportunity and a reference tool. So, really it's both of those. It's an opportunity to learn, but also it's a great tool that you can easily keep at your desk for reference.
There are links, there are questionnaire, there are content that is more readable. So it's a mix and match of different things that really make this whole approach and document to be very easy to be adaptable and being usable.
They're easy to read, they're very precise, they're very concrete, and there's a lot of real-world example into them. So it's very easy to relate about what they're talking about because we've lived through them. We've faced clients that had similar issues.
One of the things I can think of where I really felt like I learned was the section on maternity leaves. I'll be honest, it's something that feels sensitive, and so I would have been a little nervous to bring up that discussion with a female business owner. So I felt so much more equipped to have that discussion and to hear directly from women entrepreneurs about how they wanted to talk about that. So I found that part especially helpful.
This document is not a waste of time. Once you read through it, it just makes sense. There's no rocket science in it. It's just basic information that makes sense and that can help not just women, but any other type of client.
We see this tool as being utilized with the orientation of any new employee that start. Afterward, why not just doing little refreshers of some of the component of within the different models as a team building exercise.
When I read it, I had many ahas. And I was a little bit surprised that I did because I thought I had a pretty good understanding already. And so what I would say is that I would guarantee that if you take the time to read it, you will figure out something that will help you in your business and your role. Because at the end of the day, female entrepreneurs are a large and growing market that are important to all of us. And they help both us be successful in our business goals, but also the economy in general. And so it's to your benefit to learn. And it's an opportunity to learn. And I can promise you it's not boring, it's an easy read, and it'll be worth your time.
Okay, so that was the little video, and this ends my presentation. So now I will present the Cheryl Dawson's presentation. She's the Regional Vice President at BMO, Bank of Montreal, and she will talk to you about women entrepreneurs, their relationship with banks, and with risk.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm so excited to be here with you today to talk about this. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. As Nicole mentioned, I work for BMO Bank of Montreal, and I've actually been part of a national council for about 3 years now, focused specifically on women business owners and how we can do more business with them. And so I was very excited to be invited to be part of the advisory panel working on this CBDC project to improve access to business financing for women entrepreneurs. I think it's really, really important work, and I've been excited to learn over these past 3 years. And so what I'm excited to share with you today is some of what we've learned at BMO, what we're continuing to do, and how it relates to this CBDC project, and even more so the new tools and resources that are being released. So the first thing I want to do is start by grounding us in some important facts that matter to this work. So the number one thing that I want to say is that women entrepreneurs are really important to the Canadian economy, and particularly to the continued growth of the Canadian economy. Women entrepreneurs are growing. 50% of businesses are now started by women, and women-owned businesses represent $117 billion, yes, that's billion, dollars of economic activity in Canada. So this is really important. The other thing we know is that there's an opportunity to better support women in their businesses in Canada. They are currently underserved by financial institutions. So while that might be a bit depressing to hear, it's also a huge opportunity. So what I want to share with you is that one of the first things BMO did is realize that we needed some help in better understanding this market. And so we actually partnered with Carleton University to do a comprehensive research study on women in risk. And so it was entitled A Force to be Reckoned With. I keep it at my desk and refer to it quite often. And I want to share with you some of what we learned in that study. The full study is available on our BMO for Women website as well, so you're welcome to have a look at it anytime. So a lot of the key learnings are very similar to what you will read in the new CBDC tool, which is also on my desk. And the first one is exactly what I said. Women do, in fact, face greater obstacles in acquiring loans from banks. And they are in general not satisfied with their experience with financial institutions. So it was very clear to us as we talked to and we interviewed hundreds of women that there is work to do here. And so the other piece of that is not having access to capital prevented many women business owners from growing the businesses as quickly as they would have wanted to, which if you think about that, that has an impact on all of us. That's an impact on their ability to create jobs and grow the Canadian economy. So obviously that's not something we want to see continue. The other thing we learned is that women-owned businesses are often funded through their personal finances. And again, that was about simply either lack of knowledge of what was available to them at banks, facing barriers in getting money lent to them through financial institutions or other means, or simply being uncomfortable going there. They weren't enjoying the experience. So, you know, we confirmed what we thought to be the case, that there was opportunity here. So some of the other key findings in terms of the risk piece of it, which was a big part of what we want to look at, is the stereotype was that, you know, women don't take risks and, you know, maybe they're not likely to be as successful in business and, you know, maybe there's a reason that they're not accessing as much financing. And what we learned was while women approached risk differently, they certainly were not underperforming their male counterparts, and that there is huge business opportunity for financial institutions here. So some of the key things were that women take a relationship and a longer-term approach to business. So as opposed to starting a business with the intention of growing quickly and getting out, women are often aiming at creating a business that is sustainable and will last for the long term. They also take a more holistic approach to calculating their risk-based decisions. So because they're thinking of being in it for the long term or creating a business that will last for the long term, they think about a lot of different factors as they make decisions. They also they want more support from their bank. So one of the key things we learned is that they want more support from the bank and at an earlier stage. So they don't necessarily want to come in with everything all done already and say, now please lend me the money. They actually want to be able to have a conversation very early on and build a relationship with their banker. And so that was clearly very important information for us to learn so that we could think about how are we approaching working with women business owners. And I think already I can now relate it to the new CBDC tool that we're releasing, which helps to educate financial institutions on those sorts of things, that you can expect women to come in earlier, and here's how to have some of those conversations with them at an earlier stage. So I want to share with you some of the key areas of focus that we developed once we had that full research report. And there were 3 of them. So the first one was a lot about information. So building awareness internally and externally, creating education for employees, customers, and the industry as a whole. And that was part of the reason I, for example, was so proud to work with the CBDC on this project, because this is an educational tool, which we think is really, really important and needed. The second piece was developing tailored products and services. One that I'm very proud of that we've already released is our Women in Leadership Mutual Fund, which targets companies where they have women as senior leaders. And developing thought leadership. And so that's things like this study with Carleton University, and there's another one coming that I will tell you about later as well. And then connecting. So helping connect through our BMO for Women website, helping connect through mentorship-focused organizations that we sponsor. And I've got a few of them listed here, things like Grow Your Biz, the Women's Presidents Organization, Maybe Canada, and Catalyst. And so those all continue to be priorities for us as well in terms of supporting women in business. I want to shift as well to a few more key learnings that we had that will apply to all financial institutions in terms of working with this important market segment. And I think on this slide, the bullet that gathers my attention right away is that the third one that says build internal capacity. And so yes, it talks about the importance of having buy-in at the top, which is of course true. You need your top leaders to understand that this is an important and underserved market. But also, just as important as that is having your customer-facing staff be aware of that. So it's certainly not enough to simply have a strategy or a policy around women in business. It needs to get all the way down to the people who are talking to someone walking into a branch or calling up your commercial banker or your business banker. And they need to be effective brand ambassadors for the women's market. And so again, I would say that the new CBDC tool and resources would help your frontline bankers do that. It's a one-stop shop where it gives the kind of information to allow those bankers to be brand ambassadors for you. And some of the other points on this slide are also overlap and things that you would see recommended as you read the tool. Things like relooking at your credit processes, your lending methodologies, and your delivery models. An emerging idea is actually using some online and things like that, or trying to find ways that are less intimidating for those early meetings. And it also talks about the importance of something that came from our study, and I think I noticed within BMO is disaggregating your data by gender. So at a starting point, if you don't know which of your business customers are owned by women or led by women, how do you tailor your approach to that? And so you have to have a systematic approach. And we actually had to do that at BMO, is create a way to be able to see quickly how many of our businesses that were already our customers are led or owned by women. And so I think that's really critical as well, and that's more of a system than a training issue. And then I want to share a few more statistics with you just to help you understand the value of this market, because I think that, yes, it's the right thing to do a better job for our women-owned businesses, but I think it's important for you to also understand there's a very strong business and economic case for doing so as well. And so the first one here on this slide talks about the fact that female business owners tend to have deeper and longer relationships with their financial institution. So they do more business when they're happy, when you do a great job. They do more business with you and they stay longer. So there's an opportunity for a very loyal customer segment. They also refer more. And so women are more likely to refer people that they know than men are when they're happy with you. So obviously this is a valuable group of people to get good at serving. The other thing that we learned is that female business owners are less likely to be introduced to other parts of the financial institution. So, if a business owner is working with their bank to access financing, often we would also introduce them to someone who can help them with wealth planning. But what we found is that financial institutions are much more often doing that with men than they are with women. Even though, if they were to do so, women are actually more likely to say yes and then therefore do their investing with that financial institution. So another missed opportunity, I would say. And that really goes hand in hand with the next slide that talks about planning. You'll remember earlier in the presentation, I talked about the fact that women tend to start businesses that they want to be sustainable and in play for the long term. And so what that means is women are actually much less likely than men to know their exit strategy in advance, or to have thought about succession planning. How do they sell the business or pass it on, or step out and retire when they want to? And so that's an opportunity for financial institutions to step in and help guide women in creating those plans. And so for my entrepreneurs on the webinar, I would also say that's an opportunity for you to think about, are you one of those 70% of women business owners who doesn't actually have an exit strategy or a plan? And how much would it help you to develop one? And the last slide I want to show you is I wanted to just give you a quick introduction to what we're doing next. And so we've already done the Women in Risk seminar or survey with Carleton, and now we're working with Carleton University once again to understand women entrepreneurs and innovation. So again, the stereotype is that women are less innovative than men. And I can tell you, we're a chunk of the way through this one, and we found that that is absolutely not true. But what we're also learning is that women innovate differently and in different areas. And so again, there's a huge economic opportunity here if we are better supporting our women business owners and helping them access financing, then they are able to bring those innovations to life and make all of our lives better. So this one I think is a huge opportunity as well, and I'm very excited to see the results of this research report. It also has a subsection including Aboriginal women and how do they innovate, and so I'm very excited to see that as well. So that will all be published again on bmoforwomen.bmo.com on our website. And I'm really proud that we actually make that information all available publicly. I think it helps all of us in the industry get better and do better work and you know, ultimately grow the economy for all of us. So I think this is really important. So that's the end of my formal slide deck, but I do want to take a moment just to encourage you once again to make use of the new CBDC tool. I'm just going to show it to you. It's amazing. I think that it really can be used in two ways. It is definitely an excellent education piece where you can work your way through the entire thing and learn a lot. Some key highlights for me were the sections on gender bias, which are really detailed and help you look at what your biases are. And trust me, we all have them. And then there were a couple of other sections that I absolutely loved. There was a section on women in business and maternity leaves, which I think was very educational and enlightening, and to hear, you know, directly from women business owners how they approach that, how they'd like us to talk to them about it, those sorts of things. I thought that was excellent. And then there's also an excellent resource section at the end that is focused on a wide variety of resources that are available right here in New Brunswick. So I was really excited to have that as well. The other way that I think that this tool is really useful is as a quick reference. So it's well set up so that you can quickly go to the section that you need right now to help you with a particular customer or a particular opportunity in the market that you're seeing. So I think this is really excellent and important work, and I would encourage all of my fellow financial institutions and lenders to take advantage of it. And so that's it for me. I want to say thank you again for having me, and thank you for listening, and I hope you learned a little something. And if you're hungry for more, I'd encourage you to check out our BMO for Women website, where there are lots of resources and information like this.
Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, so this is all for the webinar, so please feel free to send me any questions.